We're live. Okay, so today is the very first day that we're going live. This month is our first month online. Welcome to the Global Economic Advisory Network, aka GEAN. My name is Erica Malazzi. I am the founder. This is my passion project, I would say. I don't know if that's fair. But basically the intent is to help other entrepreneurs navigate the economy, whether that means, dealing with disruptive change such as the pandemic or climate change or understanding how to adapt to AI technologies. This is basically a platform to help you navigate whatever obstacles you may be facing as an entrepreneur. And this month in particular, we're focused on helping any entrepreneur, whether that means you're a solopreneur or your small business or your pre-seed startup, all the way up to C-suite executives. We really did try and cover all the angles of entrepreneurship in this series, specifically to help hit your numbers. So we ran a study and we saw that a lot of entrepreneurs were coming up short this last quarter, and I felt it was heavy on my heart to create something that would help entrepreneurs be in a better position, whether that means hitting your marks by the end of this year and or at the very least being in a very strong position for the beginning of next year. So over the next 3 days, we have a range of different, very diverse experts who will be helping understand what could have gone wrong, right? What are the common issues and how do you solve them? What type of strategies could you actually put into place today to start to get a handle of your business? Because usually if there's some sort of shortage in your metrics, right? If you're not hitting your KPIs, it can be tied or linked or drawn back to a pivotal moment, strategic decision that you could eventually, hopefully, through this summit, identify. So the summit is free. It's a completely free online experience, totally online. And I hope that you'd enjoy it. Over the next 3 days, we will cover everything from planning to sales to launching a product, a SaaS product in 90 days, marketing, how do you grow your business, culture of business. I mean, how do you understand where your business is? How do you become accountable as a business and as a business leader, for the results in your business? And I mean, it is such a large spectrum of different types of experts that in one way or another, you're guaranteed. I mean, I don't know if I can technically make guarantees, but you're guaranteed to walk away with something that you could benefit your business. So if you are watching live, great, I'm happy you're here. And if you're not, or you can't make the whole summit or every single day, there is VIP. VIP is available. It is roughly $47.99. You can hit the QR code, or you can drop the link in the chat and click on that link. Basically, you'll get free access you'll get paid access to the recordings of these sessions. So if you can't make these time slots, you're able to catch the replay. And you'll also be getting a live session, so a backstage hour on the 4th day, where you can ask specific questions and answers to some of our speakers. So it allows you to sort of digest the information, take a moment to process, to understand how this applies to your business, and come prepared with questions on the live. So if you're interested in that, if you want to take advantage of these experts who have generously donated their time, I highly suggest hopping into VIP so you have direct access to them to ask them any questions that are prevalent for your business. And in addition, you'll also get a playbook. So Cliff Note style, what is really important, what are the key takeaways for each session, and how you could start to apply them to your business, or how you could start to think about them for your business. So that's all in VIP. If you're not in VIP, hit the link in the chat or QR snap that code and go ahead and sign up for VIP. Also, I had a sort of surprise moment for most of our speakers where I asked, I'm trying to prove the 6 degrees of separation theory. So my mission is to encourage entrepreneurs to network more often, to be more involved with platforms like this that provide the information that make it easier to navigate the economy, right? Because my perspective is the better the entrepreneurs, the better the economy, and it's sort of a cascading effect on the rest of society. So my mission is to encourage other entrepreneurs to network more often. So I'm doing that through this platform, this passion project, and also through this demonstration of testing the hypotheses of the 6 degrees of separation. And in this challenge, I've asked all the speakers if they know of anyone or they know anyone who could put me in direct contact with Elon Musk for the next series of shows. So I'm on a 90-day sprint. I think our entrepreneurs like yourself might be on a 90-day sprint to increase your numbers. I'm on a 90-day sprint to get in touch with Elon Musk. And so if you're in VIP, you'll be able to see that process. You'll be able to follow me for the next 90 days and see whether or not that actually comes to fruition. And if it does, I mean, I can't guarantee anything. I don't know what's going to happen. But if it does come to fruition, you would be invited to the potential virtual call that I can have with him. So, exciting news. And also don't hold me to it because I don't know what will happen. But without further ado, I will introduce our first series, our first day, which is 3 sessions. So each day will have more or less 3 sessions starting at 11 a.m. So each session roughly 40 minutes to an hour of just cram-packed information. And, if you don't have a notebook in front of you, if you're watching this and you're able to watch the whole thing, I highly suggest making sure that you have some way of just jotting down quick notes because these videos will go away. They will go away after 24 hours. So if you're not signed into VIP, you won't have access to the replays. If you're just watching live, just make sure you take down some notes because you're not going to be able to come back to these after they're gone. So that's that. And without further ado, let me introduce our speakers. Kickstart Catalyst, harnessing momentum with precision and strategy, with our speaker, Colonel Baron Lukas. Embark on a transformative entrepreneurial voyage guided by Baron Lukas's extensive leadership management and a strategic acumen. With 42 years of distinguished experience across roles such as Marine Corps Colonel, fighter pilot, business executive, and board member, Baron seamlessly integrates military precision with business innovation. In this session, he delves into the art of setting values-driven, actionable goals, building immediate momentum, and anchoring a solid strategy to maintain the drive in the initial critical phases of a quarter. As a testament to his leadership prowess, Baron has held significant positions in diverse large-scale organizations, driving businesses, optimization, and stakeholder value enhancement. Leveraging his unique blend of military discipline and business innovation, Baron will empower you with the tools and insights to set your enterprise on a trajectory of sustained success. Join us to unlock the secrets of impactful leadership and strategy, propelling your business aspirations forward. Okay, so I'm extremely excited to have Baron Lukas with us today. Also, a little intimidated, if I say the truth. He has such an extensive background in history, almost 35 or a little over 35 years as a colonel Marine Corps and fight pilot, which is for me very intimidating. But nonetheless, he is such a nice and approachable guy. Yeah. And also probably the perfect person to speak to when it comes to not hitting your marks in the last quarter and, getting your ship back in order. So thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure, Erica. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I will hop right into it just so that we can take advantage of our time. And I would say just bear in mind that we have a mixed audience. So there are small businesses, maybe some pre-seed startups and solopreneurs might be watching, but also all the way up to C-suite execs and mid-sized enterprises. So let's just keep that in the back of our mind as we try and cater to everybody.
Okay.
So basic foresight, I guess. How can an entrepreneur, wherever they lie on that spectrum, how can they start to think about building a business strategy if they don't already have one in place, especially when it comes to quarters, right? How can they start to framework their strategies and action plans within the quarter?
It's a great question. It's a long answer, but I'll try to make it as succinct as I can because it takes a little bit of thought. First thing you have to consider is, and this is the facts the way I see them from my 16 years now of doing this as a civilian executive, barely 10% of businesses do any planning at all. And of those 10%, only 10% use the plan. So that's the first gotcha, is that, now we're in the end of the first month of the fourth quarter. Getting anything jump started now is difficult, but there are two things that you can do. First thing is immediate action steps. Right? No matter who you are, no matter what business you're in, this will help get the end of the year financials looking a little stronger. First of all, if you don't have a strategic CFO, and most companies do not, find a third-party strategic CFO, somebody with lots of experience, and do a financial assessment. That will include a cost reduction program for you, because most people spend money they don't even know they're spending. That's one. Two, go and find somebody that can do a profitability analysis. There are a number of companies that do that. Exec HQ does it, the one that I am a mercenary for, if you will. I'm a 1099 consultant. But we have an AI-based program that allows you to identify companies and clients that are not profitable. Here's the ugly reality. Every company has 30 to 40% of their clients that are simply not profitable, and they do not know it. That statistic is almost for every company that you can think of. And so cost cutting is one side, and then making sure that you change your behavior towards non-profitable clients is the best way to get this quarter in line with greater growth. And you can get that done very quickly, within a week. Now, once you've done that, and this quarter is now getting a little better, a little stronger, you also need to take a look at the end of the year. A lot of clients, a lot of customers, and a lot of industries have a end of the year need to spend money. Why? They budgeted that money for either CapEx or OpEx or whatever it is in the beginning of the year, probably fourth quarter last year. Now, if they don't spend it, guess what? They don't get it next year. It comes out of the budget. So think about what your clients, your customers need, and then give them a better deal. Be profitable, but give them a better deal for those end of the year things they need to spend money on, whatever it is. It may not apply to every business, but having come from a lot of industries over the last 16 years, it works for almost everybody. But you have to know your clients. So that's the quarter stuff for this last quarter. The next thing you can do is right now, today, look at how to plan. Again, nobody plans. And so you have to understand what strategy is and what planning is. It's not some ethereal, magic. There aren't Steve Jobs and the rest of the really smart people out there are few and far between. The rest of us, like me, have to have a planning process. Now, the one that I use is based on the joint military planning process, because I used to teach that at the war college level. And I spent 16 years now in business learning what not to do and how to apply certain tidbits of processes and procedures and concepts out there, and you meld them together. And that process is, in short, this: make sure that you have a vision for the company that's executable, right? And I use a 5-year vision. So in 5 years, I want to be here as a company. Then I plan backwards. I look for a 3-year target where that's no kidding numbers that I'm going to have to hit. And then the next year's plan. So now it's fourth quarter of 23. My plan for 24 will be a 1-year plan that leads me naturally to a 3-year target. And I do that process continuously, and the plans roll forward every year. Now, the way that makes sense is, and to your point about getting things going quickly, is here's what most people do. In the fourth, that do plan. In the fourth quarter, they ask the CFO, give me a budget for next year, please. And then they hire some consultant, and they spend 3 days. Yeah. So they do this planning, and then they after the 3-day session, they come out of it and they have a book, and that's the plan for next year. Here's what happens. They go into the holiday period, whatever the holiday is for them, and the new year hits, and then January hits, and then bam, they get hit in the head by something that's different. The plan gets put on a shelf and never seen again until the next planning session. So don't do that. Planning is continuous, right? And there's an old Prussian military saying that no plan ever survives first contact with the enemy. And now we don't have enemies, nobody's shooting at you, but you have clients, you have vendors, you have investors, you have stakeholders that all need to be taken care of. And so the planning is key, right? And in planning, you do this. You have a 5-year vision, 3-year target, 1-year plan. You know what you want to be. And now you look at who you are as a company, what my mission is. The mission is, what am I doing right now for my clients to make money? Simply. That's my mission. Examine that mission closely. Is that what you really want to do? Are you really a technology-enabled business services company, or do you sell your own software? Two different things. I have a client that's just like that. The difference is, the first technology-enabled business services company is probably a 7 on the multiple, right? Profit times multiple equals valuation. Somebody that sells software is a 12 times profitability. Different company altogether, right, in value. So be careful what your mission really is. Then once you do that, you do a really good analysis, right? What do I know? What don't I know? What assumptions I have to make to continue planning? People always do this. They assume stuff and then never test it again. And all of a sudden that stuff changes, but the plan doesn't change. You're lost, you're done. Test your assumptions, right? Make sure you know your risks and your shortfalls, and you know your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. Get that analysis going. Be aware of what's going on. Is the war in Israel going to affect your business? Yes. It's possible oil is going to go up. I guarantee it, right? So think that through. And then once you have a plan, you've done all this planning, and it takes more than 3 days. It takes a lot of discipline. But once you have a plan, it continues, right? So every week you check it. You check your monthly and quarterly priorities and goals. And then every month you review the plan, make sure you test your assumptions. And every quarter you really review and recast the die for the plan. Because guess what? It's going to change. Stuff changes. And if you don't act on it and you don't continuously plan, I mean, I'm to a point where I teach my clients to have a weekly meeting where they go through every to-do and every goal that supports that plan every week. And then every morning or once during the day, the executive team gets together for a huddle, let's say, football analogy, and we talk about our priorities and our problems. It takes 15 minutes, but if you don't do it, you're going to go off track. And if you can get all that done correctly, that's a lot in a short period of time to talk about. But understanding that planning methodology, understanding that planning is continuous. It takes time, it takes resources, it takes discipline. But if you don't do it, you're lost. Last part about planning, measure your results. I think Churchill said that no matter how beautiful your strategy, sometimes you got to look at the results.
Yeah.
And so KPIs, key performance indicators, is certainly one of those, but most people don't ever measure anything. They look at the financials, maybe. There's a whole lot of things to measure. And then if it's not working, change your bloody plan. Because most people just don't. Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't look at it weekly, monthly, quarterly, here we are, fourth quarter next year again, and you're stuck with the old plan, and you never acted upon it because you're reacting to situations without having a plan for it.
Yeah. Okay. So that was such a I mean, we couldn't have named this session any better than what we did, because that was so precise and accurate. You hit all the good points in like a very short, consolidated moment. So thank you for that. And
Sure.
also, so I have a couple of questions started spurring off, and I wanted to, make note of them. So I might just like let all of them all at the same time. So bear with me.
Go for it.
Um, I think one of the main, so there's two main questions. The first one is, when things aren't going right, like when you have to pivot, how do you recognize which direction you should head in, or how do you sort of determine which is the right next plan, or do you already have, a backup B, backup C plan in case you have to pivot quickly?
Man, that's a great question. I could have paid you to ask that question for me. That's how good that is. There are two concepts that I've taken from the military, right? And one is branch planning. And think of a tree, right? Branches are never straight; they're crooked. So a branch plan is when things go to hell in a handbasket, right? When things go wrong. And what I do, and I'll give you an example. I've got a client in the railroad industry that has 5 strategic lines of business. It's like new construction, maintenance, repair, and some other. And we look at that and we build a branch plan. So if things don't go right, either at the tactical level for a project or holistically for the year financially, we already have something that allows us to go left and go right, go around the obstacle and hit the target. Right. So in the military, a branch plan is, I'm taking that hill. There is something in the way. I go and do a river crossing and take them from the flank. Okay, same thing, branch planning. Sequel planning is when things go so wonderful that you've hit your target way the hell early. Now what? And here's where companies fall short all the time. They go, oh my God, we've made success. Let's have a party. No, 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 stop. Now's the time to go, what can I do now to really amp my revenue or my capabilities up, my manufacturing or my sales plan, whatever it is, have a sequel plan. If my quarterly goal is to do X and I've got X at the first month, well, don't sit there. Look at the sequel plan, or what am I going to do next, and change the goals. And now the entire plan changes. And instead of taking a year, you're taking a quarter, but you had a plan for it.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. And obviously that would increase efficiency. If you're already prepared for anything that comes up, then, you can just be a lot more agile in your tactics. So that's good. And also I love the idea of planning for success, because we're often caught on, the obstacles and how do you overcome these things that you didn't see, the unforeseen. And
Absolutely.
yeah, the success is also a big part of that. The other question I had was, okay, so we have a wide range of audience, but for some of them, the organization is so large. And I wonder, sorry, there's a motorcycle going by.
Fast
But the
car.
organization is so large, the, there's so many different floating departments that I think for them, the question becomes, how much micro planning do we do, and or who's involved in the actual planning? Because I think
Great question.
part of the planning is having the data, right? Having the information that informs the strategy.
Yeah, this is another long 3-hour discussion here, but let me kind of
Sorry.
put it in shorter terms. Find somebody that can be your chief of staff or chief strategy officer. I don't like chief strategy officer titles because that puts them right in the C-suite and they're competing with everybody else. Right? I like a chief of staff, somebody who is an advisor that is not in the C-suite, that reports directly to the CEO and the board, and he guides or she guides the discussion and holds people accountable. That's one. So you have this figure, and then you have a planning team that brings in all the groups: supply, manufacturing, sales, financial, HR. Everybody's involved, and we all agree what the vision is, what the 3-year target is, what the 1-year plan is going to be, what the results will be from that 1-year plan. We've communicated that to everybody. We've got great core values. We have a culture that's aligned, and we have a planning team. The planning team comes together every month, and every quarter, and it rolls forward. The senior leadership team has weekly meetings to hold everybody accountable. And so we plan holistically for whatever the lines of business the company is in. And then we build supporting plans that support the plan, right? Silly, but it's true. What resources do I need? How much money do I need? Do I need to raise capital? Do I need to get debt? Whatever. What HR issues do we have? What kind of talent do I need? Why? When? What's my manufacturing plan? Do I need to go Lean Six Sigma? And there's all supporting plans, and those are all reviewed on a monthly basis. So when you come into this planning meeting, if you're HR and I am manufacturing, I'm going to have my piece to say, and you're going to have yours. And when stuff changes, which will happen every bloody month, then you and I need to get together and say, hey, look, I need 5 more X's in manufacturing. And you go off and you get that done. And then we make sure that the CFO knows that we're not spending too much money. It's all connected. Everybody has to know what's going on. That's why a really disciplined, what I call staff cycle, daily huddles, weekly meetings, monthly reviews of the plan, quarterly updates, and it rolls forward every year. If you don't do that, you're going to get lost. Stuff's going to happen in your business no matter what industry you're in, and you're not going to catch up because you're already behind when you start.
Yeah. Okay. So it has to be an integral part of the operations. It is part of the process. It isn't something that you revisit after the quarter. It isn't something that do once and then put on the shelf. And it is something
it's continuous.
It's the lungs of the operation.
So, yeah. And then one more point, Erica, and then I'll quit with that one, is not many companies have the resource to do this, quite frankly. But I'll tell you that in a company that I led a couple of years ago, I took one of it was a small company. I think we had like 12 people in the headquarters, and then we had some sales folks. I took one person who was a really, really smart young guy, and I said, you're my red team, meaning you're not in the planning cells, you're outside and you're 10, and you poke holes at the plan. That's what we do in the military, right? We war game the plan. And then the red team goes, yeah, but you consider X. Interest rate are now 8, not 2. So getting debt is a little difficult. Those kind of things that people don't consider. It's that person's job to be, I'm not going to use profanity here, but the bad guy or gal, the pain in the you-know-what, to say, that plan doesn't work, and here's why.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to poke holes at it, or what happens is, and we all do it, we all have egos, and we fall in love with our plan.
Yeah.
Right? But if you don't have somebody saying, really?
Right. Yeah. Provides kind of like a checks and balances system for your planning structure. And also, like, I just like the idea of the red team, or however you refer to him, poking holes, because it's very competitive. I mean, in the sense, if you're assigned that role, you got to find the hole in the plan, which is I think it's a good game to try on in your business if you aren't already doing that.
Absolutely.
So you also brought up another good point that, most companies, especially if they're smaller, don't have the budget to seek an expert to implement this in their business, or to help them implement this in their business. So what are some things that they could, I mean, you gave some pretty solid advice at the beginning of this session. I think if you're, savvy enough, you can sort of run with that. But what would you say for them if they're looking to implement this and they don't have the time or the human resources to dedicate to managing the planning process? Because I can see that as being the first objection. I don't have time in my day.
Yeah, and here's the gotcha. If you're the CEO, founder, president, whatever, and you're spending more than 70% in your business and less than 30% on your business, you're already wrong. You need to find the discipline, find the time, right? So that's a key issue everywhere, particularly for entrepreneurial companies where the CEO founder wears 10 hats. Lose some of the hats. So a couple of things you can do is find fractional interim executives. Lots of them out there, right? But I'm one of them, quite frankly. right? And find some low cost help. Right? I mean, obviously, if you hire a full-time chief of staff, depending on the size of the company, that's between 180 and 500,000 or more a year. But you can do a fractional chief of staff for a fraction of that and get most of the same benefits. Same thing if you don't have a strategic CFO, and most companies don't. I would say 95% of the companies don't have that. Find one. There's lots of fractional interim CFO companies. You can go to Zec HQ, my company. We have many of those. The bottom line is that is a low-cost alternative to getting full-time C-suite support. That's one. The second thing is get a board of advisors. Excuse me. If you don't have a board of directors or managers that run the strategy for the company, or at least guide that strategy, then get a board of advisors. That's cheap. And get people that, one, you trust and know, and two, that are in your network of either clients or vendors or people that are associated with your business that can help guide you in that process. And you'll be amazed how good of a business development that tool is. Besides just having a planning resource, they can also say, hey, I can introduce you to XYZ. And most people don't take advantage of finding 4, 5, 6, 7 people at low cost that can meet on a monthly or quarterly basis to help you think through the plan.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sorry for the motorcycles that are going by. just the day. It's today. It's been
Let
all
me
day.
guess, you're still in Italy, right?
Yeah. Gas prices are going up for sure. So they're ditching the cars. No, but so getting back to that point, I mean, I think, yeah, so it's a good option for anyone who doesn't have the budget right now. It's definitely something that will improve your business. I mean, maybe we can talk about the results and, you know, from your experience, the changes that you've
Sure.
seen and how how much value it actually brings to the business, so that they're aware of what it does. And then, and on the flip side, I'm thinking, if you are using fractional executives to come in for an interim period, when do you know, or how do you know, or is it even required to transition into a full-time executive, right? Like, when do you know when
That's
to
a
make that switch?
great question. Let me give you a case study. In 2019, I left the company and I didn't want to move. And so I joined Exec HQ for the first time. And so that week, that exact same week, a young man, he was in his mid-40s, young to me, who had been a competitor of mine in a certain industry, called me and said, hey, I could really use you with some strategy work. Okay. So I went in as, I can't remember what the title was, doesn't really matter. I was kind of chief of staff-ish kind of a role, right? Executive coach, strategy, disciplinarian, bad guy, the whole bit, enrolled into one. But I was there as a 1099 consultant. And immediately we started doing this planning process, and we were, as we say in the old field, blowing and going. We were absolutely on fire. We had a new technology. We were trying to get patents done in 3 different industries. It was intense. That was November. By March, it was obvious that this was going to be a full-time position, because I couldn't do anything else. I was revenue limited by one client. And as a consultant, that's not a good place to be unless you're making more money than you can spend, which I've never seen. So I said, look, and actually the client said, we'd like you to come full-time. They'd like you to come full-time. And I said, wait, let's see. And the conditions were, there was enough money at hand at the time. And then the need was obvious. So that's one example, right? So I spent the next 18 months, 18 patents, and then I left because the position was no longer required. That's one. The other thing is, when you meet success and you're growing, you need to make that decision on, when do I invest in the company in a full-time, whatever it is, full-time, really good strategic CFO, full-time strategy person, or one that is really a weakness for most small companies is marketing. When do I get a marketing person advice going either to somebody doing bad marketing on PowerPoint, or I get a consultant? When do I need full-time? And it's a matter of that sequel planning discussion. If I'm meeting success and the revenue is there, and the only thing that's stopping me from going to the next level is this thing, this position, this capability, then do the financial analysis and hire. But in the short term, there's lots of people with my colored hair that have been around for 40, 50 years that could probably help you from a different perspective, particularly if you're a young entrepreneur in a startup, no matter what the industry. And I have some clients that are in the fundraising business, right? So I've got a client that's raising $200 million for a mining fund. I've got another client that's raising $100 million for low-cost housing for veterans that are having problems reintegrating in the civilian workforce. Great goals, great programs, but they're young and they need somebody to go, that's a good idea, but have you thought of this and let's do this, right? That chief of staff role, that's cheap. Find that person, even if it's not a professional like myself, but your lawyer or your dad's best friend. Find a mentor. And that's one of the last question for today was, what's the one thing? Well, there isn't just one thing, there's numbers, but one of them is find a mentor, find an advisor. Either hire an executive coach or a chief of staff kind of person, or find somebody you can talk to bounce ideas off of. It's always lonely being at the top, whether you're a military commander as I was, or you're a 25-year-old CEO trying to raise money for a company. That's a lonely place to be. Find somebody you can talk to and go, now what? And they can give you at least a little bit of a steer. Right?
Yeah, that's extremely valuable. And that seems to be the through line throughout. Like it's just networking, having your support system, advisory boards have come up a lot. I mean, just having someone that you could rely on to give you good advice or, help you strategically think about things that you haven't seen.
That and holding yourself accountable. I'm telling you from painful experience with clients, there's a plan and here's going to execute, and then they don't follow through. Now months pass and the same problem is still there. You need to have somebody that tells the emperor or empress they have no clothes on, if you're familiar with that fable, right? Seriously, you have to tell them you're screwed up and here's why, and you need to fix this or this won't work.
Yeah.
If you don't have that person in your corner, then again, it's falling in love with your own plan, even though you're not executing on the plan. And that's dangerous.
Yeah, it's the highway to failure, which it's not a bad thing. You can learn from failure, but if you're looking to be successful, it's not the
costly.
Best. Okay, so I guess maybe we have a couple more minutes in here. So I wanted to ask, we talked about the transition what are the sort of indicators of when it's time to transition into a full-time position or hire someone who's full-time position, but typically from your experience, how long do you stay as an interim executive in a business, or does it depend on the business and the industry and all of that, or
it depends? It all depends. It depends on the needs, right? I think if the company is going to grow significantly, then the decision has to be made to either take that person, if that person is worth their salt, if you will, full time, or you look for somebody else to replace them. And I'll give you a perfect example. Right? I've got a available client again that went from when I first met them 2 years ago, they were about a $7-8 million revenue company, family owned, 20 years in business. The first year that I was with them, they went from that to 18 million. And now they're going to go somewhere well north of 20 million. And they're part of a consortium that they were invited to attend. And now they're ready to be in this consortium because they have the processes and the procedures and the rhythm of discipline that they need. And now they're going to go from a 20 some odd $1 million company to, in the next 24 months, probably a $200, $300, $400 million company doing international work. Right? At that point, you need to find the right kind of folks. And a part-time whatever is not going to hack it anymore. And so then it's a matter of really understanding when money is available to pay for real talent and then finding the talent. And here's the gotcha that I think that we haven't talked about yet, is that it's the cultural bit of a company. Culture beats strategy almost every time. And it's because if you don't have the right fit, if that person doesn't fit your core values, and they're not on the same team, right? And I use the Marine Corps. I spent 27 years as a commissioned officer in the Marine Corps. You know what a Marine is, right? It's everywhere, right? Short hair, great looking uniforms, first to fight, all that stuff, right? But we know that what that looks like. And it's like Southwest, another company. Not so much now. They used to be, you knew what Southwest was. They were friendly, they were funny, they were on time, blah, blah. If you hire somebody that doesn't fit your culture, you've already lost. And so find a person that displays your culture, lives your culture, breathes your culture right from the very beginning. And if they don't, the axiom is hire slow and fire fast. Right? Find the right fit, the right kind of experiences, and always hire for integrity first. Not years, not education, integrity. Because if you can't trust them, they're not worth anything. And then make sure they fit. And if they don't fit, then you need to part ways quickly, or you're wasting time.
Yeah, that's a really good add-on, and it's probably should have been one of the first ones, right? Because that's, I think, often when you feel as though you're in a lack, right? Whether you're lacking the human resources or the funds, for instance, for anyone who's in pre-seed right now, it's very easy to go to the first wolf that offers it, right? So considering who's the right match and who, is in alignment with your core values and who has integrity in what they say is a huge deciding factor.
Well, to your point, Erica, I got just two clients that are raising money, and both of them right now can't pay anybody. Right? There's no money, right? So in that need, you get desperate. Right? So my only advice is don't get desperate. Find people that, one, share your values, that have your best interest in mind always, and then are passionate about what you're doing, and that you can rely on. And the best thing you can do is date them before you marry them. And by that I mean, bring them on. Hey, look, can I ask you a couple of questions? Can I ask Erica? Can I ask you for some advice? Anybody that does this for a living is going to say, "Of course, yeah, of course, I'm happy to help."
Yeah.
And then see what that is, and meet them in person. Break bread with them. Have a adult beverage with them. Whatever you think is necessary to make sure that fits.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no weirdness. There's no, I don't know if this person is right. And you'll find that if you concentrate on that first, make sure they're not a complete buffoon, obviously, but the trustworthiness is most important. And then listen to the advice and go, okay, well, is that something that makes sense to me? And then let your heart and gut speak before you make a decision. But that's the best way to do it initially. And then for pre-seed folks, find a little piece of equity, perhaps, that you can give them. Dangle a little carrot out there, and then most of the people that I work with that are fund advisors or the chief of staff folks or strategists or executive coaches will stay and help, knowing that there is a reward someplace. And even if there isn't, for me, I'm 64. I'm a lifelong student, right? So if you hire me, Erica, to be whatever in a non-compensated role, right, then I'm going to learn from that experience. And if in a month or 2 months from now we decide you can't pay for me and I can't continue, at least I've learned something, and hopefully you have as well.
Yeah, that's a really good approach. I think that that's valid for most life lessons, actually.
Isn't it?
It's a really good moral compass, or just sort of frame of glasses to see the world from. So I appreciate that. And
Yep.
I have a sort of follow-up question to it. So from your angle, I mean, I've been trying to think of what the audience might want to ask you, but from your angle, what do you look in? Like, what do you look for before taking on a client? What do you decide is a good fit for your company?
Yeah. and it's really a good fit for me personally is the key.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if I don't like and trust you, I don't like your mission, I'm not going to engage. You know,
Mm.
and this is personal because probably the most black and white person your audience will ever meet. Right? If it just is. If you lie to me, I'm gone.
Mm. Mm.
If I think you're cheating somebody else, I'm gone.
Mm.
So I pick clients that I like to work with, and if I think that you're crooked, you're not the kind of person that I would ask out for dinner. I'm not going to work for you. And
Yeah.
so, but that's why I have the luxury of being able to choose my clients, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's like anything else. People do business with people that they like and they trust. They
That's
don't do
true.
business with people they don't. And
Yeah.
so, as long as you know what you're looking for and what your core values are and who you are as a person and what you represent, that's easy.
Mm.
And
Mm.
don't waver and don't get yourself in a position where you're working with or for somebody even that you don't like. Nobody likes to work for people that they don't respect and like.
It's true.
Right?
It's
And
true.
most people are miserable when they understand that their boss or the people they're working with, don't share their values and don't have their best interest in heart. The quote is, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Well, caring for
Mm.
somebody is great, but if you don't share my core values, it doesn't matter. I don't care how much you care. If we don't mesh, why bother?
Mm. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I think that's another through line that's happening is a lot of this, how much should you be evaluating the actual character and entity of the business and because it's tied to the person. But anyways, that's for the audience to
Another time.
decide. Yeah. I do want to, there's a couple things. So first I want to say thank you for your time, but also to the audience, that he has been generous enough to offer a free gift for you so you can help navigate your potential planning strategies that are on the horizon. I'll let you go ahead and introduce your gift. I'll take myself off of here.
Yeah, sure, folks. If you hit the QR code there, there's a link to my calendar, and you're invited to schedule 15 minutes of time with me. I prefer Teams versus phone because that way we can see each other and we can talk more directly. But I'm happy to listen for 15 minutes and give you advice or help you in any way I can. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's perfect. So hit the QR code up here or the link in the chat. We'll insert it as well. So it's 15 minutes consultation with him, complimentary, just for being part of the network and also for attending his session. I'm sure that you found it insightful because I definitely did. And if you have any particular questions for him or you have a potential project, obviously, I don't know. I mean, he's made himself available. That's really generous of him to do because, as you can see,
My
he's
pleasure.
full of information. Before we go, I do have a surprise question. I mean, I keep saying it's a surprise question, but they're all kind of surprise questions because I never stick to the plan.
Good. I like it.
Okay, so I have this mission that I want to encourage other entrepreneurs to network more often. So that's where Geen comes into play. There's a platform for them to do that. There's these summits, these informational tools that we're providing. And I thought, it'd be great to demonstrate this through leadership. So I'm testing the theory of 6 degrees of separation. Are you familiar with we're all related by 6 degrees of separation?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been asking all the speakers, who do you know who you could call right now who might know someone who might know someone who might know someone who could get me in touch with Elon Musk? You don't have to say it.
Wow. Actually, I do
Yeah.
have a couple of people that could do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're just I don't know how this is gonna work out, but you don't have to say it now. Here's the thing. A lot of people ask why Elon Musk. Our next series is going to be on risk. So risky business, meaning investments, climate, and AI. So he said something recently about AI, which I wanted to, unravel.
Yeah, very risky, but yes, absolutely.
So hopefully I don't fall on my face. There's something that comes out of this, and if it is a success, you're obviously invited to the call or however that ends up happening. But everyone who contributes to the potential success of it will be able to reap the fruits.
Terrific.
If they're interested. But yes. So thank you again for your time. Thank you. I've been saying this to everyone, but honestly, I don't think it's done enough. Everyone always just says thank you for being on the show, but also thank you just for dedicating your life to the work that you've done, because this is a lifetime's worth of work. It's a lot of experience. It's a lot of knowledge, and you've been generous enough to share it with us and younger generations.
My
So
pleasure.
thank you. Thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.